Where does it say you can't freely go there? Because it just says you have to notify the environmental protection. And
No, I just
review it
now
to
linked
agree with it.
the last link I showed you. It says that they can forcibly obtain you at any point in time. So there's numerous ones. If you actually want to read, one of them was 300 pages. So you can't say it's not very long. It is long.
Travel in Antarctica.
You should read it before you debate out of ignorance.
I read every line in there twice.
You read 300 pages already?
No,
What a genius.
I read the first one you sent.
Okay, dude, I just said I've sent like 5 or 6 that go in very good detail about the stipulations. There's so much information and rules about it that there's hundreds of pages. If you actually want to skim through it and learn about the claim that you want to make, then I went and got it for you guys.
Okay, well, the first one you sent, you can freely travel there. You just have to it has to get approved by the environmental protection.
Well, I said freely and privately explore, and if they can forcibly obtain me at any point in time after I have to get their approval where they allow me to go and I can't bring fuel, that's not private exploration.
At any point if you're in any park.
All right, see, I'm not going to keep talking to this guy.
No, dude, you can literally go there.
Dude, shut up.
Yeah, this dude's ridiculous. This dude's like really ridiculous, man.
Finish, bro.
You can go to Antarctica right now. You just have to.
All right, cool story, man. That's a cool story. All right,
so anyway,
okay, cool.
Jim, have you seen this American Moon documentary? It's another one of these a funny thing happened in the moon movies. What's it is saying that once you watch that, no honest person would ever believe that the moon landings were real.
Well, I mean, it's got all the usual stuff in it. I thought what it had. That's not true. Well, it has.
Usual stuff, huh?
Well, it has. Yeah, it's got there's no the shadows are the wrong way, and
you haven't watched it, have you?
There's no dust on the landing pad, and it's got all the usual crap. But you
haven't watched it, have you?
Witsit. Let him finish Witsit.
But okay, sorry. But it has got some bits of the flag moving that I haven't seen before.
Got much more than that, man.
That was about it, really. That I
no, but it's got interviews with all of the people involved at the time. It shows you the documents of all of the people in political office involved at the time. It shows you the agreements that they had with different studios at the time. It shows you the military allocation of funds at the time. It goes in deep detail. It's a 3-hour documentary. You haven't seen it clearly. If you have, you didn't pay close attention because you just assumed that it's played out same bullshit cycle shit. I can understand that because I will be honest and meet you halfway, so we don't have to argue because it's exhausting. I do agree. Some of the videos just loop the same information, but the American Moon is very different. There's a ton of information that isn't in prior documents.
Does it make the point that there was no dust on the landing pads?
I can't remember. It's like a 3-hour thing. I'm not saying it doesn't make any claim similar.
So you weren't paying attention then?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it doesn't make any claim. I'm not saying that it doesn't make any claim. I'm not saying that it doesn't make.
His entire talk, you were interrupting, going, "You didn't see it. You didn't see it. You didn't see it." And then now it's your turn. You're saying like, "I don't remember. It was 3 hours long." It's not really fair the way you're doing it.
Okay, I'm trying to. Y'all still not gonna let me answer, but I'm not saying that there isn't anything in there that isn't cycled information that other documents have brought in. I've literally very specifically said that there's information in there that isn't in the other documents or the documentaries or the documents.
And I said that too, but it's just not very compelling.
Okay, but you didn't actually talk about all of them. So I explained that it shows the interviews with all the people in political office, the allocation of funds, the studio agreements. If you actually want to learn what the truth is and then tell me that the moon landing is real, go look at it. It's 3 hours. And then respond to some of the things I just brought up. It goes in detail about it, and it's objective declassification.
What is it called?
Responded to some of the
American Moon.
A bit funny Russia let America get away with that.
I don't see that having documents that you're describing just don't show a hoax. They just don't.
Oh, come on.
Okay, well you just
wait. They don't even begin to refute the mountains of evidence that are in contradiction. They just
okay. So if anybody else wants to just actually look at it instead of just vague hand-wave dismissal from Jim, then go for it. I don't want to debate about it because he clearly isn't going to respond with specificity.
It's funny Russia just let America get away with things. I have responded with
specificity. You say there are documents that link NASA to studio. I say, so fucking what?
That's not all I said, though. I said there's interviews of people that were in the political office and military positions that made decisions about it at the time.
Specifically, what specifically do they say in these interviews?
I can't remember exactly their names, so I don't want
how
to
can I
misattribute
respond
the
specifically
quotes.
something that you're not saying?
Okay, fair enough. So what I'm saying is Jim says he's seen all of it and knows it's all bullshit. So whatever. If anyone wants to go think for themselves instead of just having to depend on someone else,
I saw it
then
too.
you can just be honest and go look. Okay, so what about the part where they're interviewing the people that were in the military and in political office about it? What about what Nixon said about the moon landing in that documentary?
Oh, Nixon said, go ahead.
So you don't even remember.
I don't remember him saying anything that was indicative that it was a hoax. I remember he's not a fan of space.
That's not true.
He thought it was a waste of money. I also think that the relationships with studios make a ton of sense because the studios need relations with NASA to do things like make 2001 or all kinds of space movies.
Or maybe fake a propaganda film, and say they landed on the moon. So you don't even know what Nixon's quotes were.
That's certainly a possibility. That's the reason why. But we know for sure they would have a relationship because of the movies they make. And yes, it's also possible for the you're saying.
What a coincidence that NASA makes movies.
Oh, one of his quotes.
Why is NASA making movies?
Hold on, I can't hear when you guys both talking over talking, laughing, and being ridiculous.
Hold on.
So why does NASA make movies? Why does NASA make movies?
Wait, hold on. Which one wants to ask a question? Which one wants to ask a question?
Nixon.
Well, yeah, Whammer, please don't talk at this. Go ahead if you want to talk, but just don't talk at the same time as me, please, Whammer.
It helps if you don't ask the same question 3 times.
Well, I just wanted Scott to be able to answer. I didn't know if he had heard me.
I haven't heard the question. So either pick one, ask the question, and I or somebody.
I already forgot what it was now.
It was why did NASA need to make movies?
Yeah, why do they make movies?
Hollywood would make movies.
But NASA
with NASA. Hold on, listen. If you want to hear the answer, you have to listen to the answer.
I literally am listening.
Listen. And now Hollywood wants to make movies, so they make deals with NASA because they need consultants from NASA. So like when they're making 2001, you know that picture of Kubrick with all the NASA guys? That's what that's about. He's there to talk to them about getting authenticity for the movies he's making. When they make us all Apollo 13, they come through and they hire all kinds of NASA people. I remember as a kid, I was super excited to meet Tom Hanks because Tom Hanks came through and met all the astronauts and hung out with them to get, learn the role or whatever. So that relationship there, that happens between Hollywood. Hold on, dude. That happens between Hollywood and pretty much every organization you can think of. For whenever they make a movie, they want authenticity. So that's going to be there. Now, maybe it's the other thing too. I don't know, but it's definitely there for that.
Okay, but we're not. Shut up, man. So the one that you're talking about in 2001, dude, we're talking about the freaking 60s, bro. And we're talking about NASA renting studio space, having deals with other companies abroad and domestic, renting studio space.
What's it? 2001 was made in the 60s. It's the name of a movie. It's not a year. I mean, it's a year, but the name of the movie is 2001. Whatever. It was made in 60. It was made in like 66 or 68.
Okay. So did you understand my point? It's they rent actual studio space, some domestic and abroad. It's declassified and covered in American Moon. Also, Nixon's quotes that weren't publicized are also in the documentary. So you should check it out.
I saw the
Did you
if Nixon's quotes are in there, they were publicized.
No, actually. Yeah, at one point. They weren't
that is
publicized and they weren't covered in it was declassified, but it wasn't like in public sphere. It was in the public sphere.
Why did the Russians let America get away with the fake moon landing?
What makes you think that they knew it was fake?
What quote?
Dude, they tracked the entire thing.
So now you're just
they had heavy counterintelligence in America too. They had.
This believes all the propaganda he's ever told.
You know how much spies both sides had on? Like, come on, man! You're really.
Did you know that these guys in 2001 they took over planes using box cutters and accomplished impossible aerial feats, and then a passport fell out of an explosion and just happened to tell us exactly what it was. Even though there was numerous passengers, we knew the one passport that came out was a terrorist. You just believe everything you're told.
Why are you
Do you
talking
think
about
anyone
9/11?
was in any doubt that it was terrorist? Really?
No. What I'm saying is
we needed a
passport.
passport to establish that.
No, my friend, but what I'm saying is that when the passport came out of the explosion
Why
and
are
was
you
found on the
talking about
ground,
9/11? I asked you
within
about
that,
Russians, you fucking retard.
I was making a point that you just believe in propaganda no matter how ridiculous it is.
Wait a minute. Slow it down just a little bit.
Okay, so whenever the passport popped out of the explosion,
I don't
it floated
care. I'm
down
not
to the
asking about 9/11, dude. Nobody cares.
Oh, he's making a point, bro.
The point
It
has
fell
nothing
down.
to do with this. Both sides had massive amount of spies. You think they would have
Bro,
somebody would have figured out that it was fake by now?
let him say his point.
Yeah.
So
Whoever's right, let him talk.
So the passport comes out of the explosion, falls down to the ground, and then is found on the ground pretty much unscathed. And in that same day, in that same 24-hour period, they then determined that that was one of the terrorists. Now, how would you know that wasn't just a passport that came out that was one of the other passengers?
So this is how you avoid questions. It's incredible.
No, my point was just that you can't just believe whatever you're told.
No, both sides. I mean, think about both sides had heavy amount of spies and counterintelligence.
So Israel had heavy amount of spies on 9/11 too. They were actually arrested. It's called a dancing Israeli. It's been declassified.
Nice deflection.
It's not a deflection. It's making it more analogous.
Just completely avoid the topic.
No, it's making it more analogous. It's making it more specifically analogous to what you just claimed.
That to the space race, where both sides spent equivalent of billions and billions of dollars. Like, dude, come on, use your brain for 2 seconds.
You just believe everything any government says.
Like,
The Soviet,
dude.
it's come out the Soviet Union were showing fake models of the population. They weren't even showing actual rockets. You believe everything.
Actively tracking
let
the entire
me ask you a
space
question.
launch, and we went to the moon 6 times, and they tracked all of it. The Russians tracked all of it.
Does the Soviet Union?
But they tricked. They tricked
Okay.
them 6 times.
Okay, here's what I'm asking. Did the Soviet Union ever lie?
Yeah.
Okay, so but you know they're not lying this time though.
Why? Listen, you idiot. Both sides were trying.
Oh, I'm an idiot
fight
now.
Yeah, you really are. Both sides were fighting for world domination and world prestige. Why would they? You really think the Russians would let Americans fake it and get away with it?
This dude thinks if he
You know,
just keeps
providing
cycling and
all the
repeating the
evidence and all-
same
Yeah, 'cause
propaganda
your brain
story that I
doesn't work.
told the
You
same
can't think about this
story.
Wait,
Let's
one second.
Let's avoid the insults.
I was told the same story. I was told the same story when I was younger, man. You don't have to tell us the same story. We all know what the story is, man. About the Cold War. We all know the
This is how you
space race.
avoid any logic that goes against you. This is how you avoid any logic.
What I'm saying is
this is your cognitive dissonance recipe, right? This is
counter
your little cognitive
logic,
dissonance
bro.
quotient. Your life
Okay, so
therefore everything you believe in now is real, potentially real. You're an idiot.
there you go.
Okay.
So if Russia was lying about when they supposedly sent the Sputnik up, for example, and the claimed altitude and trajectory they said it took, if they were lying about trying to get to space to their own population, which is now declassified, they didn't even think they could actually get up to space. So they told the rest of the world that they documented all of it, maybe because they didn't want to look like they were that far behind supposedly going to space. But nevertheless, that doesn't prove your best proof that we get to the moon was that the Soviet Union didn't bust us. That's ridiculous.
It is, but it is pretty compelling because we all agree that they really don't want to have seen be seen to have lost. And when we finally land on the moon, there's a pretty big incentive on their part to be like, these Americans are lying to you.
What if they had some type of agreement?
Time out.
What if they had an agreement?
Who's to say they don't want to be losing? Or who doesn't want to be losing? Give me a break.
What if they had an agreement? Russia and America made agreements a ton of times throughout our history before that.
I mean, it's possible. It's possible they're faking the Cold War, but it does seem the less likely of the alternatives.
Well, can you see the political benefit of the government based on the Cold War? Did you see what they attained, or are you saying that they gained no benefit?
I guess I don't see it being worth the deception and worth the cost and the danger and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
so
they got.
I'm open to it being possible. I don't think it's likely. That's all.
Okay, but what I see is that they got dying allegiance from both populations, basically out of an instinctive survival mode. So they were like, yeah, go patriotism, go democracy, go America, we're going to beat the Russians. They were thinking the same thing. They got undying allegiance from their populations with the scare tactics of supposedly nuclear bombs, dropped by missiles, and all this going to space and then attacking us from space. And then we were in this race. We had to get there before them, or they might be able to take us out because they would have a tactical positioning of higher altitude in space. So they got the undying allegiance of populations based on fear and trauma-based mind control.
Yeah, all those countries in the USSR, it was just fake, right?
I think about it economically, because I think about it like, imagine the economic power that would have happened during the Cold War. Imagine if instead of pretending to be at war, they had simply partnered and had trade agreements and had complete and honest, exchange of information and trade. It would have been such a powerful coalition that those two countries right now, there would be no China, there would be nothing but the Russia-USA coalition.
Well,
and we'd all be richer for it.
Right, but even according to the official story, we had polar opposites ideological positions, even according to the surface of the story. But even beyond that, I just explained to you, you're trying to tell me some type of price tag that they would put on the incentive I laid out, and it would be priceless. Undying allegiance from the population. If you can look how much the CIA has invested money into making sure that the public narrative is consistent with their agenda. Billions and billions of dollars. That is a very, very important aspect of intel of agencies within governments.
I guess I don't really see it as they got undying allegiance. I mean, it's not like Americans have an undying allegiance for America.
No, but I'm saying at the time, people that were even skeptical of it, they were going to go along with it just because it was America against the Soviet Union. Like I'm saying, the American government got undying allegiance in that moment against Russia, and then the Soviet Union population was undyingly pledging their allegiance to their government because they were supposedly against the Americans. It was a propaganda tool that was very effective, man.
Not really, though, because most Americans, well, not most, but only 53% of Americans approved of the space program at its most approved point. So it's not true to say everyone went with the government. A lot of people thought it was a complete waste of money.
Yeah, you're right. You are right.
But what it was, I think, it was a front in the Cold War, and the Cold War was a very real war. And
it might have been.
And what America did was they demonstrated their technological and industrial might.
I get it, man.
And that ultimately is what is required to win a war. And that's
I know
what
the
they
official
demonstrated,
story.
that it didn't matter what the Soviet Union did. America easily had the resources to overcome anything that they could come up with.
Yeah, right.
I know the official story, but just like this, I don't dispute that World War II happened.
Story.
You know, like 40 million Russians died that I was breezed over in my history class, right? Like, I know that World War II happened, but the official story that we're told about all of it, I don't believe every detail. I don't dispute that wars happen. I don't dispute that conflicts happen. Geopolitical conflicts amongst countries happen. They always have happened. They always will happen forever. I dispute what they then tell us actually happened. I don't just blindly believe it. I want to go fact check it.
Oh, you
blindly example.
You blindly believe the bits
because the U.S. government false flag attack of Gulf of Tonkin literally was used to set up a war, bro. So they've proven that they will lie to us to literally no limits to start a war. They've proven that to us.
You believe the bits that you want, though. You've been drawing on what Nixon said and this document and that deal. You're quite happy to accept that documentary evidence. You don't reject that because it, confirms your bias.
Well, no.
Well, no, it wasn't recent. It wasn't actually available.
But then if I say, well, what about this? You say, oh, well, that's just a story.
Hold on. It paints its own narrative when you look at these other things that have been kind of suppressed.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So Scott, what do you have to say about Gulf of Tonkin move?
To me?
No, Scott Mackey. So I'm asking you, Scott, do you agree that the U.S. military carried out a false flag attack?
Yep, they did.
But do you agree that means they lied to the American public to justify war?
They did in that case.
So, okay, so are you saying that you somehow know that they would just never do that again?
No.
So it's possible that they could have done that again then.
I use my judgment to determine when they do it and when they don't.
But wait, how did you determine Gulf of Tonkin? Did you determine that before did you determine that before they admitted it or after it?
Did you?
No, I didn't. I wasn't alive.
Right,
yeah, I was 3 years old at the time, so no, I didn't even before.
Fair enough. but they didn't declassify until significantly after it happened, right? So did you think that Vietnam's original like spark event was real until they said it was fake, or were you skeptical of it before they admitted it?
I was 5 years old or 8 years old when it ended.
But what about when it was declassified that it was a lie? It was after that.
By the time I was conscious of anything, it was all most of that shit was declassified. And
Okay, fair enough.
And it was well known that the Gulf of Tonkin was a false flag.
Yeah, fair
and
enough,
it might have
fair
been
enough.
an accident, but probably not.
No, it wasn't. But fair enough. Same here, right? Same here. Only time I was aware of it was already declassified. But my point is,
but it
you
doesn't
can't say
mean
you
that
use your
everything they do is a lie.
My point is it's disingenuous. I didn't say that either. But my point is it's disingenuous to say that you use your judgment to determine when they're lying and they're not lying. It's the only time that you'll ever admit they lied and started a false flag attack to justify war is the one that they admitted. Can you name another one?
Yeah, okay, sure, Ron.
So you can't name another one?
Yeah, I just did.
Oh, sorry. What did you say? Oh, you said wrong.
The coup in Iran, overthrowing Mossadegh, and installing Shah Razi or whatever in Chile, and Allende in Chile, and all the shit they did in Central America throughout the 80s under Reagan, Iran-Contra. Yeah, I'm all over that shit, man. But I know the difference between the real ones and the made-up ones.
Well, that's what you think, but at least we're somewhere. I agree with all the ones you just said, man, 'cause I researched those also. So, I mean, I agree with you
The
at
difference
least.
is there's plenty of documentation for all those other ones.
There's documentation for all of it.
No, there's not, actually.
Wait, for example, Operation Mockingbird. Do you agree that Operation Mockingbird for real with the CIA said that they want to infiltrate the media to control the public narrative to be consistent with their agenda? And they even said on oath in Congress, whenever asked, "Did you infiltrate the media?" He said yes. And then he said, "Do you have CIA agents in the media as anchors?" He said this conversation will need to be continued behind closed doors. And Operation Mockingbird admits that they did infiltrate the media. They did also under oath. So do you acknowledge the CIA has infiltrated the media?
I acknowledge the CIA does the best they can to frame foreign policy.
Oh, come on.
Right, and narrative of it, right? Yeah. Narrative of it, yeah.
Yes.
Public narrative about it.
That's what they
okay. Yes. Cool. So
most of that
there we go. We agreed on another one.
Most of that media is pointed at the other countries. It's not pointed at Americans.
No, that's not true. That's not what Operation Mockingbird's about. It's about domestic. Operation Mockingbird is about domestic.
And what do you think their goal is?
It says it in the document very clearly. To control public narrative, to be consistent with the agenda at hand. To be consistent with the agenda at hand. That's a malleable objective. So say that, well, for example, say they want to justify us going to war in the Middle East after some towers got hit, right? They say, well, there are weapons of mass destruction over there. We got intel, which we now know that came from Israel. So what they did was they went to the news and they said, weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East, we need to go to war. They coaxed and controlled the public narrative to justify the Middle Eastern war, and because we thought there were weapons of mass destruction. Then we went over there for years. Many of my friends fucking died, and now they admit that there weren't any weapons of mass destruction.
Yep.
And we're still there.
Okay, that's just another perfect example, bro. So the point is they admit they do this. And it's Mockingbird makes it clear,
do that.
Like, the point is, this is the tactics that we use. The Operation Mockingbird is about, this is the tactics we use to coax the public narrative. No, the media did it. The media did it, right? Yeah, the media is the one that told us about weapons of mass destruction. It was the media. That's how we all knew about it, got pissed off, and said we wanted to go to war, and they got our support. It was the media. Well, the CIA's infiltrated the media. They've declassified that. All right, I'm just breaking down the walls of your...
You have conversations with people, you just talk over them, you just keep going and going and going, and don't even expect any feedback from the people.
Let's just keep talking about
this. It's mostly about blotting out any feedback, isn't it? It just seems to be.
Yeah. But yes, I was in the streets protesting. I was in the streets protesting the Gulf Wars, both of them. George H.W. and W. I was perfectly aware of all the information before we went to war that documented fairly well that there were no weapons of mass destruction. It was all over the media. It wasn't hidden from anybody. We all knew, My side knew it before they went in, and it turned out that we were right.
It was a fake story. Yeah, I know, man. All my friends told me that they could tell it was fake when they were there, man.
But that was very different.
My point is that we can agree the CIA will use some very subversive. The CIA will use some very subversive tactics to justify a geopolitical maneuver. The CIA is in the media. The CIA uses the media to control narratives. They've done it since the 60s. It's declassified. Yeah. How do you know which one was which media didn't have a CIA agent? How do you know? Okay, so everyone else heard that. If you've never read it, it's called Operation Mockingbird. It's not about what I say.
So,
go ahead, Beach.
Can I throw? I just want to throw one thing.
Nothing vague about it.
The way that you do this, it makes it very hard for us just to chat about it, just to add information, to learn stuff. But let me just throw something in that I think is interesting about Gulf of Tonkin. We call it a false flag, but my understanding, and you guys, if someone here is an expert more than me, and I'm not much of an expert, my understanding though is that the actual event was probably a legitimate misunderstanding or a legitimate mistake on the part of the USS Maddox, and that the lie. Can I just finish what I'm saying? And then you can tell me the truth. What happened was not so much that they planned to do a false flag, which is one level of kind of deception, but more like a report was sent to them saying we had this contact, it was hostile, etc. And then we know that there was the next morning after review, the same report came, a second report came in saying upon further review, it appears doubtful that true contact was made. Maddox never had visual sight. I suggest a complete evaluation before further action. So that memo it was sent later. Now, then what we know is that what happened was that, hold on, there's the point I'm trying to make. What happened was the people that were trying to get the war to happen sort of ignored the second memo and went with the first memo. So we can see that they got the second memo. Yeah. That's different than saying, let's do a false flag. It's more like they took advantage of an opportunity to be deceptive, but they didn't plan to do it. It kind of fell in their lap.
You're right. You're pretty, yeah. I don't think I necessarily disagree with anything you're saying, but there's some more details. Like, actually, the position was so tactical, they wanted to take advantage of it. It was because of the tactical positioning. That's why they wanted to then be able to attack them. That's when they said, "Oh, we got attacked," so they could then take advantage of the tactical positioning they had.
Yeah,
that's what happened. That's what
I believe that.
Regardless,
it was clearly basically. Well, it wasn't a false flag they planned. It fell into the laps and they ran with it. Is the way I understood it.
Hold on. Regardless, there have been multiple false flags.
Try to spin it, man. It doesn't matter.
Well, do we all agree
with
knowing of?
Okay, sure, but of mass destruction, because they've come out and admitted that, right? So
there's been multiple false flags. Multiple.
Again, I'm not an expert.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on WMDs, but my understanding on that, and that again, you're going to call me naive, but if you can show me the real evidence, I'd love to see it so I can change my mind. My understanding is that they gaslight themselves, basically. That they weren't so much saying we know there's no WMDs, ha ha ha, let's go do this. They were more like they just talked themselves into it, and then just were wrong, just dead wrong.
Okay, right. Who was the president at the time?
I would love to change my mind on evidence. I really would, if you have.
Okay, so who was the president at the time?
Bush.
Okay. Have you heard Bush talk about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, he says weapons of mass destruction, and then he laughs. He said, "Oh, no weapons over there."
He did. He made a joke at the presidential briefing or something like that, or the presidential.
Right. Yeah, in recollection of WMD.
Yeah, because he knew what a fool he was.
Yeah, wasn't it possible that they had a genuine but deluded belief?
Please don't defend him.
But was it possible they had a genuine but deluded belief that they really were going to find these things, and then eventually, in hindsight, they realized how idiotic or how wrong they were?
Well, then you have to look and see why did they think they'd find them in the first place? Where did they get the intel?
Hold on for a sec. If it was a false flag, if they knew wouldn't they have planted some?
No, it wasn't necessary. Obviously, we've been fighting a war and we're still there.
That's a good point.
Why wouldn't they plant them?
No, but it did humiliate them. It did make them look bad. It does
It would overcomplicate it. It would cost a lot more money, and conveniently, we were able to say we just got that intel from someone else, and they were wrong. That's the official story.
So whatever happens fits the narrative. I get it. All right.
Okay.
I mean, it's good. It is a good point. Was it? I mean, even if it's not like slant, it ends the debate. It's a good point. Like we could have planted it, and if we really were doing it under false flag, under false premises, seems like it would make sense. I'm not saying that's a guarantee to happen that way, but
I disagree, though. I mean, even on a tactical sense, doesn't make sense. You'd be wasting money. You'd be overcomplicating. You then would have to find a way to set that down somewhere, and then be able to actually make it real. And then it makes it all more complicated, much more expensive. When all you had to do is tell us that, and then when we went over there, we can claim we are innocent, right, by proxy, because we got the intel from someone else.
Well, we don't claim we did.
We do. We claim that we got it from Israel.
Nope. Never
it's
happened.
also possible it's just we fucked up
while we're looking. Well, are you guys really debating false flags?
There may be too much scrutiny for us to be able to get away with it. That's possible. I can see that. Yeah, why are you just laughing at us though? If you have stuff that can really change your mind, like just show it. I would change my mind on evidence. I really would,
bro. What the fuck?
Here's the thing, man. Governments have always done this, man. Like governments have always found a way. Now you can argue if it's good or bad or whatever, dude. But governments have always and will always make sure that they subversively control the narrative of the people. Now they'll say it's because of national security reasons, etc., etc. But to argue that they do it is weird.
I believe that false flags are a thing for sure. We're just talking about two specific ones and how they came about, and to what extent they're actually examples. That's all we're talking about. It's not as if anyone's here saying governments don't ever do anything like that.
But there's a bigger point.
These are like two of the best ones, right? Because the government admits that admits these. And there's actually another one that Israel attacked us in the 50s or 48, 47. Damn it, I can't remember 47. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, Israel attacked us and said it was an accident. I mean, that was swept under the rug. There's a whole lot of things that have happened that we just weren't told. I mean, that's the point. Well, no, they didn't do it on accident. We actually were in a position where we could surveil their war crimes, so then they hit us.
Hold on.
Yes.
These accidents do happen.
The bigger point is we're getting lied to. Period.
Hey, sorry, Scott, you've heard of it?
Israel didn't exist in what's it? Check your history books, you dickhead. Israel didn't exist in 1947.
Yeah, it was founded in 48. I know.
He couldn't remember the year. He said he couldn't remember the year.
Yeah, you've heard of it?
Well,
it was 67.
That's right.
67.
And I think these accidents do happen, though. I mean, I don't know whether that one was real or not or what, but
these aren't accidents.
I think they do happen. Well, sometimes they are, though, right? I mean,
bro,
sometimes they are, right?
Okay, I'm not saying accident. Hey, have you ever hey, Scott, I would encourage you to actually read it. It's very interesting because we had a very big American flag on our ship. And it wasn't just like they actually shot us. It was a sustained attack for like over an hour. And it was right when we got in position to where we could surveil them. And they were committing war crimes. So then they started shooting us. And they sustained the attack for over an hour with a giant American flag on the ship. Then said it was an accident.
Okay.
I have a question.
They said, right.
Brutal stuff. Going up towers in fucking New York City.
Right? How come?
I mean, good.
You say we could blame Israel for misinformation, but the problem is, how come we didn't verify the information then?
What?
Usually when we get into don't we verify it?
Right, but we just believed our media agencies blindly, like we still do to this day. Well, I wish that we would, but we just blindly believe our media agencies as a whole, like we still do to this day, even though they've been proven to be